Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic Keystone. I say this every time, it's been about 6 months. I'm on par to do about 2 episodes a year, and that's okay because this warrants an episode. You've seen the title, you've probably seen the movie. I was able to see it at an early screening on Tuesday night, Superman. And the way I want to get started is why this is full circle to me. My first content exposure to superheroes was Smallville. I mentioned in the first episode, Smallville, Tom Welling, Superman, Clark Kent, Lex Luthor, and all the other heroes that came in Smallville. That was my first introduction to superheroes. And the reason I bring it up is because the new actor of Superman, David Corenswet, he mentioned that the first iteration he saw on screen was Tom Welling. So again, it's full circle for me to know that that was sort of his inspiration. That's what he was able to look to really get started. And the same thing from the Lex Luthor actor as well. He's been on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, which is who's the actor that portrayed Lex Luthor in Smallville. So they are well aware of it. I'm happy it's getting the credit that it deserves, Smallville. And here we are. It kind of brings it to the next level, which is Smallville left off where he had just become Superman and Lex had really just become the Lex Luthor that we know as this evil, plotting, conniving individual. And the Superman film takes place 3 years after Superman has revealed himself to the world. So it was awesome for me, number one, first and foremost, to see the connections between Smallville and the new Superman movie. The next thing I want to talk about is Superman then versus Superman now. No, I don't mean Superman in Smallville. Everybody that I know has asked me, well, how does this compare to the Snyderverse? How does it compare to the Man of Steel? My answer is the same to every single person. No, I'm not being politically correct. You just can't compare the two. All right? Like it's this one is vibrant, it's colorful, it's got humor, it's Superman as a human being more than he is a Superman. In Man of Steel, he's considered more of a myth. Like he is more distant from the people. I mean, yeah, he's present, he's saving people, but in this film, you really feel his humanity. And that's really the shift, is going from invincible. That's what he really was. Shout out to the show. But invincible in the Snyderverse and Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman compared to now. He's an empathetic neighbor. Like, that's what makes this film stand out. So, Superman then versus Superman now, Man of Steel was incredible. You could not be a fan of superheroes, not watch other superhero movies, and love Man of Steel. A lot of people I know, they were like that. But with that being said, Superman also, like, yes, you have to be sort of this comic book loving nerd, perhaps. Why? Because everything is there in this film. Like, it's literally an adaptation on screen, but you still appreciate the plot, the characters for what it is. So both incredible. Superman then versus Superman now, very different. Next, give you some background information. So James Gunn, who was in charge of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy in Marvel, he moved over to DC, and he's the new head of DC now. A lot of credit goes to James Gunn. So he's in charge of approving the scripts. They come to him. He's the visionary. He's got a partner, but really he's the visionary of the story. There is no origin story fatigue here, right? So there isn't like you have to have this background context. He is starting it from scratch. He's starting it all over. And that's really the nice thing here, is you don't have to be in the state of, who is this person? Who is this hero? Where are they from? Like, how do they connect here? Which is what happens in Marvel now, because it's a reality. Like, they've been going on for so long. They've built this machine where you have the multiverse, you have all these different characters. people who were even showing up from decades ago that they last portrayed their character, and now people are like, oh, where is this coming from? Superman, it's a fresh start. But it's not like your Iron Man. In Marvel, Iron Man was the first movie. He was the only superhero to get started. It's an individual story. But this Superman film, it establishes some things first. And I like that James Gunn went with that direction, which is metahumans have been around for centuries. Superman revealed himself 3 years ago. But we've got people with powers, and they've been around for quite some time now. Okay, so that's sort of the background context of the story. No spoilers so far, but we will get into spoiler territory from now on. Just a warning in case you haven't seen it yet. Pause here, come back later. If you have, here we go. Lex Luthor versus Superman. So there's this contrast between the two characters. It's just like you have your Joker and Batman. Like you have the main villain, you have your main superhero. Lex Luthor in this film, loved it. He portrayed it so well. He's driven by envy, arrogance, and personal gain. He doesn't hate Superman just because he's powerful. He hates him because he represents everything that Lex pretends to be, like virtuous and hopeful and selfless, and he wants people to look up to him. But who do they look up to? Superman. So the way he portrayed Lex Luthor, I mean, we were disappointed is a light way to put it in the Snyderverse with the Lex Luthor portrayal. So this was incredible. He's 10 steps ahead of everyone, like not just Superman, everyone. And he's the puppeteer of the film. He's not just, knowledgeable, like he's actually able to build technologies, but he's resourceful. Like he's the whole package in this film. And again, like I think it was just portrayed so well. Superman, on the other hand, how is he in contrast to Lex Luthor? He's driven by something way deeper. So although he is the metahuman, there's an innocence to him. He genuinely sees the best in people. Every life matters to him. And that's what drives the plot of the story, is you see him throughout the film saving a squirrel, saving a dog, saving this individual that's left behind before a building crushes them. That's something you didn't see in the previous films of Superman in Zack Snyder's trilogy, which was, you saw collateral damage. You saw, obviously, a repercussion of the following stories were how many people died. In this film, yes, there's damage to property, but there's a point to seeing Superman save everyone and every life. He's grounded in his humanity. And he's also grounded by, obviously, Lois in this film. Lois is the human that he's in love with, and she also portrays her character so well, the actress. And I think what makes her character interesting is, obviously, she's a journalist, and what drives her is the truth and the source of the truth. But sometimes you get so caught up in knowing the truth, needing to know the source of the truth, that what the truth is in front of you is just sometimes you're blind to it. Like you have to figure out where it's from instead of seeing it with your own eyes. And so that, I think, is what grounds her, and it's what grounds Superman too. Like he is the opposite of that. He sees the best of people. He doesn't have to have some background information. He's just thinking that people are good. And so there's a contrast between Lois and Clark as well, Lois and Superman too. That vulnerability is what makes them stronger together. With that said, and sort of the contrast of people, I want to jump into real world parallels here. So I'm not saying James Gunn wrote this with these things in mind, but you can't help but notice them. And actually, I read an interview, I don't know if it was real though, read an interview where he said, the director James Gunn said, the things that were happening in the world were not happening then when I wrote this film. And we'll go into a little bit of detail of that. So there's a fictional conflict between these two fictional countries, Boravia and Jaranpur. And everyone has come to me and said, like, oh my God, this was clearly about Israel and Palestine. like clearly about it. Again, he didn't. He supposedly said, "I didn't write this when things were happening in the real world," but everybody has said like this is about Israel and Palestine. I'll tell you this. There's a scene while I was watching the film I thought was so powerful, and it reminded me of something that happened in the real world. A boy is standing. So Superman at the beginning of the film, he saves the country of Jaunpur from being invaded by Baravia. Baravia is a superpower country, military, weapons. Jaunpur is a country where you see the people just in the desert. Like it looks like people are just in the sand walking around, no weapons, really broken down homes if you see any. Like it's just an invasion. And so now, again later in the film, this they're being invaded by Baravia. And this boy stands up. He's got this pole with him. Everyone else is retreating. But what happens? He stands up this flag, and it's got the symbol of Superman. And obviously, if you're a Superman fan, you know the S does not stand for Superman. It stands for hope. He's praying for Superman to come to save them again. The way it's shot is you see the boy standing in front of these tanks that are coming straight towards him. The tanks are not slowing down. There is an image in the real world. Do you remember that iconic photo of a Palestinian boy throwing rocks at a tank that was approaching him? How could you not think about it? Even more chilling, the tanks in the film of Baravia are backed by whom? By Luthor Corp, by a U.S. corporation. They're funded by the U.S. company. And it makes me think about how war is just, how often it's politicized and profited. Like world leaders, I mean, this is part of the plot in Superman is they come down on him. For what? For stopping the war, quote unquote. War is what leaders of the world refer to it as, right? The invasion of Baravia into Jaunpur. And what does he say? I just stopped people from dying. Like people were going to be killed. That's what I went to stop. I'm not there to stop a war. It wasn't a war. That's literally what he says in the film. And so again, Superman stands apart. We don't have a Superman in the real world. It's sad to say. But it really paints this picture of how, political parties are profiting, companies are profiting, people are profiting off of what's happening to the oppressed. There's another plot in this film, which is Luthor Corp. I mean, why do they do this? It's a secondary thing, right? So number one is to get at Superman. Number two, Lex has a plan to make use of half of Jaunpur to be the king of the land. Have we not seen conversations between political leaders, Donald Trump and Netanyahu, about what they're going to do with Gaza after they desolate it? I mean, it's sickening to think about and even mention. But literally what we see on screen in this film is what's happened and what is being talked about in real life. So there's absolutely real world parallels, whether he meant it or not. It's for the individual, for the person who is watching to take away, to open your eyes and to see what's happening, not just on film, but in reality. Superman stands apart not because he's a metahuman, but throughout the film, there is something he does, something that's highlighted, and that is he assumes good in people. I'm a Muslim, and in Islam, we have this concept of husn al-dhann. It means that you assume good in people. Like even if negative things happen, if bad things happen, it's not to think that person did it. It's not to think like that person could do it. It's to assume the good of people, to have good thoughts of other people. That is deeply rooted in Superman. That's what makes him stand apart in this film. Moving on to not just the plot, but sort of the ending of this film and what it kind of sets up is what I appreciated. There's no cliffhangers. It's a complete story, and it's refreshing. There's no massive Thanos-style setup. And if you really think about it, like I said, this is not the Iron Man of the MCU. This is the Avengers. You have your Justice Gang. You have multiple superheroes, all of them playing a part, all of them powerful. but there's no big bad that's waiting in the post-credit scene. It's just a clean beginning and a hopeful end. Really refreshing. I think that's all we needed. We get spoiled with, these cliffhangers setting up the future. This was it. Superman doesn't need a cliffhanger. It was the hopeful end to know that beginning to end, Superman took care of it. Obviously, he had his friends in the background, which I'm going to transition into next. Side characters. Side characters who shine. I really appreciated in this film the way the side characters had weight to the plot of the story. They're not just background noise anymore. They actually matter. They shape the story. And so every person has weight. I'm not just talking about Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho. I'm talking about Jimmy Olsen. I'm talking about Malik. I'm talking about Eve and so many others. Who is Malik? Malik is the Muslim hero of the story. He actually mattered. In the trailer, you see him do what? He is the only person who, when Superman is pounced by the kaiju, hit into the concrete, makes this gigantic hole, everybody is around him and just watching him. Malik is the one who does what? He goes in to help Superman stand up. And all Superman cares about is getting him to safety. But Malik was the one who was a hero of the film. How? Because Lex is torturing him later on. He is used as the plot point to get Metamorpho to actually care about life again, to think about it, and Superman gets freed. Like, he mattered. You would think that from the trailer, especially, just that part where he saved or he helped Superman stand up was it for that character, but he actually came back. Like, they had somewhat of a relationship where he was like, "Hey, I gave you hot dogs before, remember that?" And that was the relationship. Just that relationship meant a lot to Superman, and he referred to him. He had a nickname for him. When you have a nickname for someone, it's like you have a relationship with them. Like, you actually care about that person even more. He had his nickname for him. He called him Mally, I think it was. So, side characters. Jimmy Olsen. I mean, again, you could just the side reporter, but he is key to the plot. Eve. I mean, the way they used her in the story from taking those pictures, but connivingly doing so with the stuff that's in the background. Wow, like they really did a great job. Guy Gardner, I mean, you would think that the Justice Gang and the characters were just going to be cameos because that's typically what happens in these types of films. But they really grew up in throughout the plot of the film, like meaning they went from just caring about themselves and if you're familiar with the Boys show, it's like this corporation running a group of superheroes. That's what they are. They're just a corporation that's running this team of the Justice Gang. All they really care about is profiting. But by the end, he ends up in Jaranpur, and he's there to save people. I mean, the side characters, they really shined in this film. The end, my final rating, closing thoughts, I give it an 8.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. It's not perfect. It's hopeful, it's grounded, it's encouraging. I walked away excited, not just for DC's future, but for stories that we can still tell about hope, even in this like cynical world where, terrible things are happening. We don't have our Superman, but we're given this hope that, we can be good. We can think of good of other people as well. So there's some things that were missing in this film that I thought. So for example, I thought the turnaround of the Justice Gang was a little abrupt, where they kind of closed the doors on Superman. I mean, they've known him for 3 years now, but all of a sudden in the film, they just kind of were like, "Oh, you know what? We are going to help." Again, like just things like that, where, I mean, it works for the film, but that's a reason why I wouldn't give it a higher rating, and other things too. But there were so many there were great moments. So side characters and how they contrasted Lex Luthor and Superman and so many others. With that said, Superman isn't about being invincible. He's about never giving up on people, even when it hurts. I think we could use more of that right now, whether it's in our communities, our world conflicts. When I say conflict, it's not to water down what's actually happening, because that's what political leaders want us to feel, and that's what's portrayed in this film. It's not a war. It's not a conflict. It's an oppressor and the oppressed. That's what Superman is about, is saving those who are oppressed. we can help do that to the best of our abilities. And how? Standing up, using our voice, doing what we can do, and doing that also within our personal relationships as well. Believing in the good of other people, in the innocence of other people. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone. Have them still believe in hope. Until next time, hopefully not 6 months from now, but we'll see. Stay grounded, stay hopeful. As always, see you next time. Thank you so much.